What is happening, baby? As always, it's me, your host, Dallas Clark, also known as Indo is my Nindo, and I'd like to welcome you back to the Fantasy Football Huddle, and god damn does it feel good to be here this evening. I mean, the night I'm recording this video, it is Thursday night. I watched the first quarter of the preseason game. As useless as it may feel, I'm suffering through withdrawals. So I got football on in the background, making my fantasy football notes. Everything just feels right. It feels like that most wonderful time of the year that we've all been missing, which is called football season. But guess what? It doesn't just feel like it. It is the most wonderful time of the year. We are now kicked off officially to the NFL season, and that means that your fantasy football draft is right around the corner. So today, what we are doing here on the Fantasy Football Huddle, presented by the Huddle Chat Sports show and partnered with the Rig T platform, is we are going to be continuing the top 20 running backs. In the last episode, we covered 1 through 10. So if you haven't seen that, stop right here and go check out that 1 through 10 and come right on back to this point in this video. Today we're covering 11 through 20. We're going to try to burn right through these a little bit quicker than we did last one, but we got to get all the information that we can in on all these players and see why they are where they are. Now, of course, like I said last time, if you had any problems with my 1 through 10, if you think there's anybody that I should add on that list, same thing with this list. Make sure you drop it in the comments. Let me know what problems you have, where I should put somebody else, who's missing off this list, and who you would replace them with. Now, before we get kicked off into players 11 through 20 over here on the Fantasy Football Huddle, we are going to do what we always do, baby. Now, if you don't, there's no pressure at all. You can go ahead right on into the intro song. But if you do, I invite you to smoke them if you got them, baby. Let's get it started, and let's get right into the news. Now, before we get off on player 11, I would like to ask you, if you don't hate the video, please make sure you drop a like, hit that thumb for me. It helps me out so much more than you even realize. And then if you haven't already, put some D on that subscribe button, turn it from subscribe to subscribed, and hit that notifications bell, because we are hitting you with daily episodes now, daily videos, and I might even come out with multi episodes a day from this point on until your fantasy drafts, until week 1 starts. Now, getting off into player 11, number 11, I don't really want to talk about this player too terribly much, but we have to put him here. Got to give him the respect, I guess. Alvin Kamara from the New Orleans Saints. He got into a lot of trouble before the Pro Bowl. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to get into the specifics, and I don't know what's going to happen, but at any point in this season, you might be facing a 6-game suspension with Alvin Kamara. You have no idea what's going on with his lawsuit. Now, today is August 4th, and I think like 2 days ago, they extended out Alvin Kamara's trial date for 60 days. So that might have just bought you 60 days as a fantasy football owner, but we never know how the NFL and Roger Goodell are going to work with those proceedings. They might start out week 1 and just suspend him from there just because he violated the personal conduct policy. But when it comes to Alvin Kamara, there's a lot of uncertainty around him, not just with his legal situation, but there's a lot of uncertainty within the New Orleans Saints offense with Jameis Winston and his wobbly knees. He's got the stanky legs now. Is Michael Thomas going to be healthy? How big of a portion of is he going to play on that offense? But you do know that this offense has potential to be a good offense. And when you look at Alvin Kamara, he has had a lot of his numbers and a lot of his efficiency comes straight out of the backfield as a pass catcher. But you look at the fact that with Michael Thomas returning, you got Chris Olave coming out in New Orleans. They got a lot of pass catchers now, and that might significantly reduce his role as a pass catcher. But you do also look at the fact that throughout the entirety of his career, for the most part, he's had Mark Ingram and Latavius Murray, 2 reasonably serviceable backs, kind of stealing carries from him and taking some of those carries. Now, we don't really know what we're going to be getting with Alvin Kamara taking 20-plus carries a game as a running back. I don't know how excited I am about that to see it, but you have to give him the respect. I mean, the man is a top 5 running back, if healthy and playing the entire season. But Alvin Kamara, like I said, I have to put him in there and give him that honorary 11 spot to kick it off. But moving on to number 12, I'm going over with Leonard Fournette, Lombardi Lenny, Uncle Lenny, whatever you would like to call Leonard Fournette. We're putting him in here at number 12 from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I mean, he's looking younger than he did ever in his career. He's looking like the Leonard Fournette that we knew out in Jacksonville before he started fist fighting people and getting cut off the team. Leonard Fournette had an amazing year last year, and he's also tied into that Tom Brady offense. That Tom Brady offense is a lot of scoring opportunity, a great offensive line, a lot of checkdowns, and Leonard Fournette, honestly, the amount of targets that he gets in the passing game is almost ludicrous. You look at what he did in the last 7 games last season. He was targeted 9 times, 6 times, 8 times, 8 times, 7 times, and 9 times. If he's getting that target production and that target attention, you could give him 3 carries a game as a running back, and I'd still be happy with the production and the attention that he's getting. However, he is a good running back as it goes in the. However, he is a good running back as it stands. Out of the backfield as a running back as a pure runner. But with that Tom Brady offense, he's really efficient in there, and he also just signed a new contract, so you know that they want him to be the guy. I mean, throughout last season, going back on his target share, his lowest target in the entire season was 3 targets, and that was 1 game. The rest of them were about 5, 6, 7, and then you heard those last 7 games. Joe Mixon was begging for 3 targets a year last year. Nick Chubb is begging for 3 targets a game right now. I mean, it's absolutely insane. If you pace out what he did over the 14 games he played last year through 17 games, he would have had over 100 targets, which is crazy for a running back. So Leonard Fournette fits perfectly in that 12 spot. Now, moving on to number 13, I've got James Conner from Arizona, and I mean, last season he put up 202 carries for over 1,000 total yards and 18 total touchdowns. He's re-signed to a new deal, and it's kind of hard to take his numbers as a running back, at least in the efficiency standpoint, seriously. He wasn't that great in the efficiency standpoint last year, but he was also splitting carries with Chase Edmonds. Chase Edmonds is out of town, and James Conner is now the sole proprietor of everything that's going on in Arizona. I mean, you look at Keontae Ingram, he's cute, I guess. He was a 6th-round pick. But he's not really going to eat into any of James Conner's production. He has, the one thing that gives me a red flag about James Conner is he has missed at least 2 games in every season he's played in the NFL. He is yet to play an entire 16 and now 17 games in the NFL. But you look at what Cliff Kingsbury has done through his career as the Arizona Cardinals head coach. He wants a running back that can take 20-plus carries. So you're looking at James Conner thinking, could he get injured? Yeah, he could. But is anybody going to steal his production and eat into his production? Absolutely not. When he's on the field, he is going to be doing absolutely crazy things with numbers, especially in the volume standpoint. So especially in PPR, James Conner is definitely one of those top 20 running backs and will be the first running back outside of the top 12 for you. That's going to be capping off those 12-man league first 12 running backs. James Conner will now be the first running back of round 2 for those 12-man leagues. But moving on to number 14, this one might be a little bit surprising to a couple of people. I got Ezekiel Elliott, Zeke the Freak, out in Dallas. He's super interesting, and I honestly think that he's a dark horse and could seriously be a key to that one player in your league, that one really dangerous team that you don't want to run up on in the playoffs. I think Ezekiel Elliott could seriously be a portion of that. You look at the fact that he has one of the best O-lines, arguably the best offensive line in the NFL going into this season. You look at the fact that they're a part of a great offense, and he's going to have a lot of scoring production off of that. Now, you do want to mention the fact that with Amari Cooper now gone and out of town, and Cowboys wide receivers literally galloping into the injury reserve and into the physically unable to perform lists, there's going to be some need for him to come out there as a wide receiver, similarly to what I said to Aaron Jones in the 1 through 10 video. You might even see a thing where Ezekiel Elliott's taking 25% or more of his snaps lined up as a wide receiver because they need that pass-catching role, and you know how much we love those pass-catching running backs over here on the Fantasy Football Huddle. Now, you look at last season, and you might want to get a little hesitant about Ezekiel Elliott. He started off extremely strong outside of that Week 1 performance against that extremely stout Tampa Bay running defense. He busted off like 4 or 5 straight games of really great performances and really great numbers. Then the problem that came is that he tore his PCL and decided to play through it. He still played okay, but he disappointed those fantasy owners who were starting to salivate at the potential that they saw throughout week 5 last season. I do think the situation is great for Zeke coming into this season. Hopefully he has recovered healthily from that PCL tear, but at the same time, you look at it as saying something that Zeke might not be the same runner that he used to be. It may be an issue that affects him long-term, kind of like what Todd Gurley's knee arthritis did to him there for a little bit. And now Todd Gurley, I don't even think is in the NFL at the current moment. But Ezekiel Elliott is currently going in the 4th round, and having a 4th-round running back who finished 6th in fantasy football points per game last season and has the potential to be a top 5 running back, I will happily take that in the 4th round, especially if I went wide receiver early in my drafts. Now, moving on over to number 15, I got to put him up here, and it's hard to. Saquon Barkley. I mean, we all know who Saquon Barkley is, and it's really hard to say much about him. I mean, everybody kind of keeps running it into the ground, that stat that he had over 2,000 yards rushing as a rookie. But Saquon Barkley at the current moment, he's behind a terrible offensive line with trash-ass quarterback play and a terrible offense and just a terrible team in general out there in New York. Saquon Barkley, his ceiling may not be there anymore, and sometimes you even question, is Saquon Barkley ever going to be even a glimpse of what he was in that first season when we saw him? But I do believe he has such raw athleticism that you want to see him do well and flourish even in that bad situation. It's not like Saquon Barkley has ever been really in a good situation, but you also have to look at the problem that is that Saquon Barkley has never been a good running back without Eli Manning at the helm. Is this the year that that changes? I don't know, but I do know the fact that Saquon Barkley has previously going as a top 6 running back throughout his entire career. Snagging that man in the 3rd or 4th round, I'm pretty happy grabbing Saquon Barkley in the 4th round, especially if some of these earlier running backs that I've mentioned are gone off the board. Now, before I move on to my next player on the list, I would like to remind you and invite you to come up, join your boy, and join the rest of the Rick T platform on Sundays on our Sunday check-in. We're going to have a lot more episodes coming up. He does a How About Them Cowboys. We do a cookouts and fistfights. And you're even going to start seeing THC Sports specials on a week-to-week basis on the Rick T platform. So you make sure you check out the Rick T platform and the Rick T podcast on Sundays. You can check them out on Twitch. You can check them out here live on YouTube. You can check them out on Facebook. You can always look at the socials at Rick T platform. I'll put them down here in the description for you below, but I will see you on Sunday when you check in with me and the boys. Anytime they get 35 viewers, we will be giving away a free jersey. And like I said, today kicks off the NFL season, and I bet yo ass needs some new NFL gear. So get up in that Rick T podcast. Now, the next thing I'm going to be getting up into is the question of why Javonte Williams has fallen so low down into my rank of 16. I think that Javonte Williams, a lot of people aren't really taking into account the re-signing of Melvin Gordon, I think, enough. Javonte Williams, I want to like him a lot. Everybody wants to see Javonte Williams become the workhorse that we know he can be out in Denver. But the problem is with them re-signing Melvin Gordon is a damn good running back too. Melvin Gordon can be that workhorse. He does have that talent. He does have that athleticism. So the fact of the matter is that Javonte Williams just has not separated himself far enough from Melvin Gordon to earn that workhorse role and to earn that early down coverage and earn that number 1 running back without committee role that we know that he can get. Of course, everybody's going to mention the fact that Russell Wilson coming in is going to be nothing but great things for the offense, especially the wide receivers, but that's definitely going to open up the game for Javonte and Melvin Gordon. They're both really good out of the backfield as pass catchers, but at the end of the day, if you're going to take one of them, you're obviously going to take Javonte Williams over Melvin Gordon. The only problem that you have to take into account is how much is Melvin Gordon going to discount Javonte Williams. Kareem Hunt is a great running back in Cleveland, and you're looking at Nick Chubb being in my top 10 rankings. If, like I said, if you haven't seen it, check it out down in the description. Go through that 1 through 10 list. But Nick Chubb is my number 10 running back going in to the preseason right now, and he splits carries pretty much evenly with Kareem Hunt, and they both do well enough to be started, so it can happen. But the problem is with Javonte Williams is he's going to have a couple of great weeks, and you may even see a couple of weeks where Melvin Gordon might miss 2 or 3 weeks straight, and Javonte Williams can really explode. But you take him knowing that you're going to be getting a good player, but hoping that you can get great production out of him. Now, moving on over to number 17 is going to be the E to the T to the N, Travis Etienne out in Jacksonville. He's a great running back, and honestly, he gives me flavors of DeAndre Swift. You might even consider him the DeAndre Swift of like the discount bin. Let's say that early at the beginning of your draft, you're kind of stuck between like a Mike Evans and a DeAndre Swift. I would much rather take Mike Evans there early on and come down and get discount DeAndre Swift and Travis Etienne, then go the other way and take DeAndre Swift early and come down to see what those wide receivers are looking like down now in that 3rd or 4th round. Travis Etienne, especially at his value, is absolutely tantalizing. You have to appreciate the fact that he's going to be the only one getting carries, getting goal line work, and getting targets out of that backfield in Jacksonville. Unfortunately, the only problem with him is that he's still relatively unknown, considering the fact that he got hurt so early on into his rookie season. So you are going to take him knowing that he's almost essentially a rookie at this point, but knowing that he can do some great things. He's up there with Breece Hall, who is my next pick, number 18, Breece Hall. Travis Etienne and Breece Hall are actually two of the only 6 running backs to ever get a 99 elite grade from Next Gen Stats. Breece Hall, as a matter of fact, is not only one of my most tantalizing rookies, but he's also one of my 5 players who you must draft that have league-winning upside. And if you haven't seen those, they'll be down in the description and at the end of the video as well. You need to go ahead and study up on those. But we talk about Breece Hall heavily there, so I'm going to kind of be able to breeze through him. He's one of the most tantalizing rookies, like I said, and he is actually the 2nd most athletic running back coming into the NFL since 2006. A rookie running back has finished top 15 in fantasy football for the last decade. The last 10 years straight, a rookie running back has finished top 15 in fantasy football points per game. Now, I definitely think, and all experts definitely think, that Breece Hall is most definitely the favorite to continue that trend out in New York. He's got a similar problem as Saquon Barkley with trash-ass quarterback play, a terrible offensive line, and just a bad offense in general. But the fact of the matter is that Michael Carter is his only competition, and I doubt that I see Michael Carter this season in more than a rotational role. Breece Hall is going to be the obvious number 1 running back in New York. It just depends on how the game scripts work for the New York Jets and if they can keep them close enough to keep Breece Hall in your fantasy football lineup scoring points every week. Now, before we wrap it up, we're coming down here to 19. I'm a lot higher on this person. Not a lot, but a little higher on this person than most people are. I love Josh Jacobs out in Las Vegas this season. Like I said, I'm higher on him than most. Previously has been a really explosive pass-catching running back, and he didn't really do that much last season. He did finish as running back 16 overall, despite not having the efficiency that he usually does as a pass-catching running back. But you do look at the fact that he does have a bottom offensive line as well, which may significantly hurt his rushing efficiency. But you do have to appreciate the fact that he's now in an extremely high-powered offense with Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow. They've got a really good offense, and especially in their division, they gonna need to score some points. You're gonna be looking at a lot of touchdown production that you can hopefully expect out of Josh Jacobs this season, at least a lot of goal line work. Josh Jacobs really is the premier back in Las Vegas and doesn't really have a committee, doesn't really compete for touches with anybody out in Las Vegas. Like I said, you can expect to see him getting a lot of that goal line work, and I believe that the fact of the matter of him having such great pass catchers around him and such great high caliber wide receivers around him will open him up in the pass game, because you can't discount the talent in the wide receiver and tight end position. So that may open up more checkdowns for Derek Carr out of Josh Jacobs out of the backfield, which we always love those pass catching running backs. Let him return to where he is the best and most efficiently utilized as a pass catching back out of the backfield. Now, wrapping up the final pick here in my top 20. And before I get it, I want to know, who would you cap off this list with? If you had these first 19 picks, who would be your number 20 pick? I need to know. Let me know down in the comments. I'm hearing a lot of crazy stuff, and like I said, I'll be willing to argue with why David Montgomery maybe didn't make it, why certain players didn't make it, Elijah Mitchell, why certain players aren't in this list that really could be argued into this list. But I want to know what you think. And before we get into that top 20, I mentioned it in my last episode, I would like to officially announce a promotion, a partnership with THC Sports and Danklyfe Clothing brand. Danklyfe, the person that owns it, Knowledge, is a really good friend of mine and has an amazing clothing brand. And she has offered to partner with me over here at the THC Sports and the Fantasy Football Huddle. And she's helped me make all these brand new graphics that you see. And she's also bringing a lot of new merchandise and a lot of new clothing for the Huddle Chat Sports Show. So be on the lookout for some fantasy football merch, some THC Sports merch coming your way, available for purchase, and we're going to be raffling some off. I'm going to drop down her dot card in the bottom. That's where you can get in contact with her for any brands that she personally has and send her some ideas so that way she can make you something personalized that fits you beautifully. Make sure you check out Danklyfe Clothing brand and make sure you check out my number 20 pick, who is going to be Cam Akers from the Los Angeles Rams. Cam Akers, I'm lower on Cam than a lot of people are. He was extremely good and extremely highly touted before his Achilles tear last season, and he came back extremely fast from his Achilles tear. So it makes a lot of people think that, with that extra offseason, he might have a little bit of rest. But unfortunately, those people aren't paying attention to the fact that he played 5 games when he returned from that Achilles tear, and they were putrid outings. He put up less than 4 fantasy points in every single game. Led the league in those 5 games in fumbles, had terrible efficiency stats. He was absolutely useless when he came back for those 5 games, but nobody really remembers that too terribly much. Not all athletes are Kobe Bean Bryant. No, not everybody can come back with that same explosiveness and that same speed. So you kind of wonder what shape we're going to see Cam Akers in when he comes back this season. You do have, of course, that really high caliber offense, great offensive line in front of him. So he does have a lot of great options and a lot of great opportunity. But you look at kind of like what happened to Clyde Edwards-Helaire last year. You're going in with that same kind of risk, saying he may not ever be that same running back that he was going to be and may never even hit the level that we thought. Let me remind you that some simple-minded people in the world really thought Clyde Edwards-Helaire was better than Jonathan Taylor, who is your number 1 fantasy football pick this season, at least in the running back standpoint. They really thought Clyde Edwards-Helaire was better than Jonathan Taylor. Now look at him now. Not even inside the top 20, and I doubt even inside the top 30. We hope Clyde Edwards-Helaire has a good year, but I'm laughing at everybody that thought Jonathan Taylor wasn't as good as Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I'm laughing at the Chiefs for giving us the opportunity to draft such a great running back. But Cam Akers is going to be a very risky pick if you take him, but he is going to cap off my number 20, 11 through 20. That's going to be my top 20 running backs here over at the Fantasy Football Huddle. If you made it this far, please make sure you throw some D's on that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button. And please make sure you turn into the next video. And I'll see you on Sunday with the Rick T platform. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for your time. Make sure to never be outworked, out-hustled, and outperformed, and you will find success. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Fantasy Football Huddle, presented by the Huddle Chat Sports Show and partnered with the Rick T platform. It's your host, as always, Dallas Clark, also known as Indo is my Nindo, and I'm the fuck up out of here. Y'all have a good one, man. Peace.